and welcome to the Business of Story. I'm your host, Park Howell, and today we have an expert here for you from the Better Business Bureau serving the Pacific Southwest to talk about how they empower the growth of Main Street mom-and-pop businesses through the power of storytelling and how you can benefit from their amazing programs. I've hosted several Business of Story training sessions for Samantha Scholl, her team, and attendees of the Empower program by GoDaddy. I've been absolutely tickled at the success of these entrepreneurs from what they learned through the BBB and how they're now using storytelling to grow their business. But this is not your ordinary business incubator.
I once had a business partner that told me that there's no space in business for empathy. That was the end of that partnership. So we talk, it really truly was. But we take them on a journey. We start with helping them define their core values, their mission, their vision, their purpose. And then with the help of you, we share the ABT framework, the and, but, therefore, and the importance of storytelling for their business, for their brand, and how important that is to be able to communicate that story to their target audience. Because at the end of the day, if they do that right, their bottom line is going to be increased. They're going to generate that revenue and that brand awareness.
Samantha Scholl is the Director of Entrepreneurial Programs for the Better Business Bureau serving the Pacific Southwest. She's a passionate advocate for equitable access and opportunity for all entrepreneurs and is committed to empowering and supporting entrepreneurs throughout their journeys. Alongside her team, Sam is responsible for the design and facilitation of business programs that provide education, tools, resources, networking, and mentorship opportunities for entrepreneurs, nonprofits, small business owners, and her community. Prior to joining the BBB, she spent 25 triumphant years of her career within the hospitality industry. Sam's thriving career in restaurant operations awarded her the experience of opening five-star restaurants, bars, and hotels across Vegas, Chicago, and most recently as a managing partner of a fine dining restaurant located in San Diego. As you'll soon hear, Sam is dedicated to her community and serves as a volunteer for Shoreline Community Services, a nonprofit whose focus is to address the unmet needs of unsheltered individuals and families by making sure the most vulnerable are cared for with compassion and equity. She also offers mentorship to local entrepreneurs and underrepresented communities. She earned her Bachelor of Arts in Sociology and Philosophy from Northeastern Illinois University. She has an insatiable appetite for literature, is an adrenaline junkie, travel blogger enthusiast, and has traversed over 65 countries on a shoestring budget. I can't think of better qualifications to help Main Street mom-and-pop businesses grow than what Sam brings to the table. And I'm honored to have her here for you on this special BBB edition of The Business of Story. Samantha, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much. It's an absolute honor to be here. Super excited.
Well, I'm so glad you're here, too. You and I have had a chance to work together with the BBB over the past year or two, and it's been just a blast. We're going to cover your Empower program and so forth. And I get to call you Sam versus Samantha, so I'm looking forward to that, too. What I'd like to do is start out with the Better Business Bureau, the BBB. I know when I was running my ad agency, and we were a small firm in Phoenix, Arizona, and grew, and I used the BBB for, that sticker I could put on my door. It gave me that social proof and whatever. But what I didn't do, Sam, is take advantage of a lot of your business building programs that you offered back then, and you certainly offer now. And it wasn't until I got involved in the Empower program through the storytelling training I did for your customers and clients that I realized the amazing job the BBB does for all kinds of businesses. So with that, can you give our listeners an up-to-date description, definition of what the Better Business Bureau is these days?
I would absolutely love to do that. So what a lot of people don't know about the Better Business Bureau is that we are a nonprofit organization and truly a place for support of small businesses. We're a champion for ethical business operation, and something near and dear to our heart is creating equitable access to resources for all. A little bit of history. We're founded in 1912 on the principles of creating trust in the marketplace. That's super important because that is everything that we do is based off of creating that trust in the marketplace. And we provide public education and encouraging businesses just to commit to adhering to integrity in their businesses. Recently, we are taking our mission of creating trust in the marketplace a little bit of a step further, which kind of ties in what you were talking about of all of these resources, by building ethical businesses from the ground up.
Yeah, and how has your membership been? I imagine it probably took a hit during COVID and the pandemic. Are you guys coming out of it strong?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as everyone can know, that was an incredibly hard and challenging time, especially for small business owners. And what we really wanted to do with the BBB during that time was be here for our accredited businesses and our communities. They needed the support. They needed the resources. And so we acted oftentimes as a wayfinder to those resources for consumers, but also for the small businesses, nonprofits, and entrepreneurs in our communities.
So how did you get involved with the BBB?
Wow, you want the long story or the short story?
I want the meatball story. I love the meatball story.
I knew the meatball story was gonna come into play. I never should have told you about the meatball story. So it basically all started when I was 16, which sounds crazy because that was so long ago. I can't even barely remember. But I was just a compassionate young woman looking to help support my family during some economic strain and wanted to be autonomous. And I started my first job working at a pizza pub locally, but right by my house. And I had just opened up.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Chicago. So yeah, born and raised in Chicago. I've been in San Diego for about 6 years.
All right, back to that Chicago Pizza Hub.
Yeah, so the pizza pub, it was one of those old-timey, just rustic barn house restaurants that the owner loved taxidermy. So there was like just creepy taxidermy animals hanging everywhere, and the type of place that has the peanut shells on the table, or the peanuts on the table, and you throw the shells on the floor. Super slow on a Saturday afternoon. And yeah, I was just kind of hanging out with one of my coworkers. There's only two of us on, just ready for an incredibly slow day, when literally the doors burst open and 200 hungry, sweaty, whiny Little League players and their parents came in, because what we didn't do was our research. So we didn't know that the World Series of Little League was happening right behind the restaurant. So that was an intense situation. It was like a horror movie where an angry mob was going to come and eat us, because there's only two of us and there's 200 people staring at us.
So it was the quiet before the storm, basically.
Yes.
You're sitting in there twiddling your thumbs going, do, 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 do. And over across the way in the ballpark is they're playing massive Little League baseball, and you just got a tide of these sweaty little baseball players in there, and their parents.
And their parents that were in desperate need of a cocktail. So it was like I said, it was scary. So we had the two of us up front, the owner floating around trying to reassure the guest, and only two cooks in the back, and things were wild. So the meatball story comes into play. I had a guest that was waiting for about an hour for that meatball sandwich. So I run into the back. I scream as loud as I can, I need a meatball sandwich on the fly. And for those of you who aren't in the restaurant industry, on the fly means right now. So they threw the meatball sandwich on the parchment paper in the little red basket, and I ran to table 22. And on my way, the meatball sandwich went flying out of my hands and landed on the floor right in front of the table. And I didn't have time to stop. I was in a rush. I was flushed. I said, 1 minute, and I ran back and I exclaimed, I need another meatball sandwich. So here's where everything started to crumble. I had that meatball sandwich, the second one, and I was running to the table. And what happened was I slipped in the marinara sauce on the floor from the previous meatball sandwich, and my feet went flying up in the air. My head hit the table on the way down. I landed on my back underneath their table, covered in meatballs, marinara, and peanut shells. So I was a hot mess. I was an absolute hot mess. I was 16.
You set your own trap by dropping that first meat. It's raining meatball sandwiches and you stepped in a marinara puddle.
Yeah,
huh?
I couldn't even be mad. It was my own doing. It was my own fault. But I was, like I said, I was in a state of crisis trying to get that sandwich to the table. But I was 16 and that was my first real job. And it was devastating to me. I was hysterical at that point. And of course they kindly, helped me up, and the owner came running over, and meanwhile the whole restaurant is going insane with all these folks. And I cried and I said, I'm quitting and I'm running out the door right now. And the reason why I'm telling this story is because what the owner said to me in that moment changed the course of my life and my career. He said, when something goes wrong, Samantha, and I do go by Sam, but he said, Samantha, do you want to be the person that bounces back or falls apart? Do you want to fear everything and run, or face everything and rise type of situation? You're stronger than you think. He's like, you have to strengthen your fears. And I know you can adapt and overcome this. In every obstacle, Sam or Samantha, you need to see an opportunity. And from that very moment, changed my life into the leader that I am today. And how does that tie into how I'm involved with the BBB? Well, I was also a small business owner 25 years in the future from this event. And this little thing called the pandemic hit. And when COVID hit, I was managing partner of my restaurant, a fine dining restaurant. I can't even explain to you all of the obstacles and challenges that we had to face to keep that restaurant afloat. And I needed help. I needed a lifeline. And at that point, I wasn't sure if we were going to survive the pandemic. And I know that I'm not alone in this feeling. One of the employees of the Better Business Bureau, who was a regular at my restaurant, said, you know what? There's this program that we have called Empower that is made specifically for small business owners like yourself and entrepreneurs to help them grow their business. And it was the right opportunity that I needed. Instead of facing, running away from all my fears and all the obstacles, I learned that day when I was 16 that carried me out is the art of resilience, the skill of resilience, and tackling your fears, but also being able to find opportunity in those obstacles. And Empower was that opportunity for me. It changed the course of my business. It was a game changer for us. I learned tools and skills and became part of a peer network that helped me get through the toughest time in my professional and personal life. And I came out on the other side, and the restaurant is thriving. Now, a little bit after that, I was 28 years in the hospitality industry, and going through COVID, I thought maybe I'm ready for a change. And just as serendipitous as it was, the Better Business Bureau reached out to me and said, hey, you know what? We'd like you to interview for this opportunity that we have to manage the program that you just graduated from. And here I am today.
So are you still running the restaurant? Are you still in the restaurant business? Or are you doing this full time?
I'm doing this full time. I dissolved my partnership. It was time for me to move on. The restaurant's thriving. I was happy. I still do a lot of consulting work with restaurants and hotels and bars in town. That's my side hustle. The main thing is the main thing, and that is I am 100% dedicated to entrepreneurship education and at the Better Business Bureau.
I love that concept of find opportunity in obstacles, because you know what? We don't really know how good we are at anything until the universe delivers us a blow like flying through marinara sauce, landing on our butts, being clocked by a pandemic. In all of our businesses were, upended by that, certainly. But then you really know what you're made of, and you can be the victim of that obstacle or that problem, or you can be the victor of it, right? And I think from what I've seen with your Empower programs, that's what you are really teaching your customers out there. Tell us a little bit about the Empower programs and what kind of businesses does it attract? Size-wise, entrepreneur mindset-wise, whatever, so that any of our listeners out there that might be interested in a program like this would know, where to go and who to reach out to, but more importantly, what is it all about?
Okay. Wow. Well, there's a lot to say. As we talked about a little bit earlier about how the BB's taking that mission of creating trust in the marketplace a step further by building ethical businesses kind of from the ground up. We do that by programs such as Empower, because what we want to do is just give the tools to ensure entrepreneurs can start with that foundation of trust and have the resources that they need to ignite their business journey. What is Empower? It is so many things and is extremely special and dear to my heart, as I just explained to you my story of how I came here. So I'm very proud of the program, super excited about it. So just consider you're a Main Street entrepreneur and you're looking for resources to help grow your business ethically. And you have found small business accelerators and incubators that could help, but they're expensive, geared toward tech companies, and they don't feel very welcoming to an everyday entrepreneur like yourself. Therefore, the Better Business Bureau, in partnership with GoDaddy, created Empower by GoDaddy, a Main Street business accelerator, which is basically a philanthropic program that equips everyday entrepreneurs like myself and those in underserved communities with the training, the tools, the peer networks, and unique and customized mentorship opportunities to help them accelerate their entrepreneurial journey. So that's
by golly, You just used the ABT to set that up. You've been paying attention to my trainings, haven't you?
Well, I'm so happy you noticed. I just wanted to make sure. Yes, and how did I do?
You did awesome. It was a great setup for it,
Wonderful.
And I don't know how if you've been using them a lot or writing them in your presentations and so forth, but I thought that one played very well.
Oh, yeah. I use ABTs all the time in my professional life. Like I said earlier, I'm a consultant and I handle a lot of email campaigns for my clients. And I use the ABT framework in almost every single campaign I send, literally. So it's wonderful. And at work. One thing I want to talk about is get a little bit more detail about the Empower program is that the kind of the UVP of this accelerator is really
that'd be unique value proposition.
Yeah, sorry, I just said the UVP, USP,
FYI,
USB,
ABT,
WKRP in Cincinnati. The unique value proposition of the Empower program is that most accelerators, small business accelerators that you find today, are focused and geared toward tech companies and those that will be pitching to like angel investors and venture capitalists, but we wanted to provide something different, an accelerator that's focused on providing resources to Main Street entrepreneurs and Main Street businesses. And what does that mean?
What kind of resources? Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, Sam. Can you be very specific on what the sorts of resources your folks walk away with?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot. I definitely want to talk about what the Main Street businesses and the underserved and underrepresented communities that we serve too, because what I mean by Main Street businesses is those that are like mom and pop shops, generally include businesses that you find on a typical Main Street, not necessarily all brick and mortar, but notaries, salons, restaurants. We have food trucks, skincare, some small manufacturing companies, HVAC, plumbers, all of that. So we have a wonderful array of businesses that come through the cohort. They range anywhere from solopreneurs to, businesses that have 15 to 20 employees, folks that have been in revenue for 6 months and folks that have been in business for 50 years. But the sweet spot is really for those businesses that are looking to grow. We focus on business development and taking businesses to the next level. So the types of resources that we offer, well, it's a 10-week intensive small business accelerator, and we offer in-person and hybrid sessions, but they get to learn from industry leaders and subject matter experts such as yourself, and they get to network with like-minded entrepreneurs. So there's quite a few things that we cover in the GoDaddy Empower program, but the way that I like to describe it best is we like to take a comprehensive approach to entrepreneurship. Another thing that a lot of these tech accelerators, they're focused on very specific curriculum where we like to bring in the mental health of the entrepreneur. We talk about core values. We talk about a lot of what folks like to say is the soft stuff, the fluff stuff of business. But, I once had a business partner that told me that there's no space in business for empathy. And that was the end of that partnership. So we talk, it really truly was. But we talk about, we take them on a journey, and we start with helping them define their core values and their mission, their vision, their purpose. And then with the help of you, we share the ABT framework, the and, but, therefore, and the importance of storytelling for their business, for their brand, and how important that is to be able to communicate that story to their target audience. Because at the end of the day, if they do that right, their bottom line is going to be increased. They're going to generate that revenue and that brand awareness. So we have the storytelling component. And then as it is a partnership with GoDaddy, and they are just absolutely the experts, the creme de la creme when it comes to all things digital online presence. So we have modules specifically dedicated to website design, SEO, marketing, social media. And then we have sales strategies, HR, DEI. We have partners. We partner with Life Guides to provide mentorship experiences that talks more about the mental health of the entrepreneur. But we also have partnered with Snell and Wilmer Law Firm and Desert Financial Credit Union to provide legal and financial audits and mentorship opportunities. So yeah, like I said, that comprehensive approach. We talk about the fluff skills that I think are absolutely pivotal and important to the business. But we get to the nitty gritty and talk about the legal contracts, IP, and how to gain access to capital.
Those fluff skills, I'd call those soft skills, because there's nothing fluffy about them, right? I mean, the soft skills are some of the hardest skills you could possibly learn. Everything else is kind of, logic and reason driven. Those soft skills are all about connecting emotionally with yourself, through that mindfulness and understanding, what do you stand for? What are your core values? How do you show up every day, both as that business owner as well as a business? Because that business reflects you as the person, as the character behind that business. So I'm, of course, am a huge proponent of people building their soft skills of communications, relationship development, and really their own self-knowledge, because, boy, everything is driven from that. But GoDaddy is your big sponsor behind that. How did they get involved?
Oh, well, that's actually a story in itself. So being that like our BBB serving the Pacific Southwest, there's a lot of BBBs in this country, but ours, the BBB that I'm part of is the serving the Pacific Southwest. And we're considered the most innovative BBB in the nation. So we knew we wanted to propel our mission forward by creating space where everyone feels welcome and supported and comfortable to work. So we started by opening our Ignite Sparked by BB co-working spaces. And that's where the relationship and partnership with GoDaddy really began, because GoDaddy is a long time accredited business with the Better Business Bureau since like the late 1990s. And their mission and philanthropic programs for entrepreneurs and underserved communities aligned perfectly with what we were trying to have the types of impact in our communities as well. So it was a perfect alignment. It was a mission match, if you will. And GoDaddy is also headquartered in Scottsdale and Tempe, which we service all of Greater Arizona. So that was huge too. So GoDaddy was drawn to our BBB as a premier partner because of our ability to convene that we were a trusted resource. And they really, like us, they had a vision of serving everyday entrepreneurs through the educational, technical support and mentorship. So it was meant to be. So in 2020, we partnered with GoDaddy to launch the BBB and Empower by GoDaddy Main Street Accelerator. We did so to provide the training, the tools, the peer networks, and that unique mentorship opportunities that we spoke about earlier. And honestly, since then, it has blossomed into a beautiful and flourishing relationship with GoDaddy. We have hosted summits for women, entrepreneurs, veterans, international entrepreneurs, DEI leadership summits, And we are just about to launch our 6th cohort of Empower. And as of today, we've graduated over 200 small businesses from this program. And every single one of those businesses, the program is valued at around between $3,000 and $5,000, was offered a scholarship by GoDaddy to go through the program.
That's awesome. And being the BBB of the Pacific Southwest, what markets do you serve?
Okay, so that's a great question. So we serve all greater Arizona, which basically is all of Arizona minus Tucson. And then we serve 3 counties in San Diego: Orange County, Imperial County, and San Diego County.
Yeah, so it's large. I mean, you're covering a lot of area there and a lot of people. Let's jump into some of your graduates from the Empower program. I know you've been talking to some of them. You've been monitoring, watching where they're going. And I would love for you to share some of their stories and their ABTs that they created to help them get super focused on, as you said earlier, what are their core values and how do you share those so that that message lands right the first time? And that's, of course, what we teach them through the Business of Story training sessions with the BBB. So tell us some of the success stories you've had out of your graduates and share some ABTs.
Yeah, okay, yes. Well, honestly, I have the best job. I mean, actually, you have a pretty cool job too. So, but I have an amazing job, and I get to watch these entrepreneurs grow throughout the course of the program. And just to kind of piggyback, we were talking about the fluff skills. I use that fluff word only because another business partner said these are the fluffy things that no one wants to learn about. But like you said, core values and purpose and telling a story is absolutely vital to the success of any brand. So anyone who says that they're not important doesn't have the emotional intelligence that we're talking about. So just basically just saying, like I said, we've graduated 200 businesses from this program. And in order for them to graduate, they actually have to turn in a final project. I'm not sure if you knew about this, but their final project is anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes long, which I'm sure you can imagine. Listening to 200 15-minute videos and presentations is a little laborious, but it is the most rewarding part of my job, because what I get to listen and hear is their stories and also how they incorporated what they learned throughout the program, such as their ABTs, how to tell a story. The first part of that final project, they're required to give us a 60 to 90 second pitch about their business. And I don't force them to use the ABT framework at all. However, more than almost all of them use that to set it up. And it's incredibly, I don't know, it's just profound. It's absolutely profound. And what I have watched and seen is that the storytelling session was probably the most profound. And once they have that aha moment, that learning how to craft a story and how meaningful that could be and to humanize their brand, that also can equal more money in their pockets, it's like magic. So one of the entrepreneurs that has stood out, there are so many standouts, but one that has stood out to our entire BBB and our community and our Empower community is Angelina Flores. She is the owner of Quality First Cleaning, and she has an absolutely powerful story that through Empower, she learned how to harness the importance of being able to tell that story and be as authentic as the story is authentic, but being able to capture and captivate her audience. And she uses that to pitch her business. And she won our pitch competition. And she won 2. She won the first one and the mega. So she's someone I like to highlight.
Right on.
Yeah, she is amazing. So Angelina tells her story, and she starts with it's a moving story. She's a Native American female business owner who has faced obstacle after obstacle her entire life and as a journey as an entrepreneur. She grew up in poverty. She was raised by a single mother, and she went hungry most nights of her life. And she talks about how that kind of started this entrepreneur spark that she wanted to be able to provide more when she got older. But she hit the lowest and darkest moment of her life when her husband died suddenly in 2021, leaving her to care for her 2 children and having to tell them that their father went to heaven. She talks about having to become the rock and that failure simply wasn't an option. She found the strength to build her business and support her children and was introduced to Empower, our program, at that most critical time in her life, right when she didn't know what she was going to do. And she found Empower. She claims that Empower changed her life, changed the course of her business because of the tools that she learned and the art of storytelling. And now she has grown. She has employees. She grows year over year in revenue. And she fully understands the importance of humanizing her brand and using stories to connect to her community and compel folks to purchase her services. She's a rock star. I have another standout, Barbara Guillen. She's a copywriter. She's a freelance copywriter. And so, copywriters understand the importance of telling a story. So but she, sure. After going through our program, she uses her ABT. Are you okay if I read it? Because I don't have it memorized.
Yeah, please do.
So Barbara Guillen, freelance copywriter, says, as a business owner, you have a lot of things on your plate. You want to be fully engaged and present in your work so that your customers receive the best quality. The problem is you're not connecting with your customers like you should because you simply don't have the time, energy, or creativity. I can help. With my writing services, you can build and maintain meaningful relationships through regular emails, newsletters, and other periodic communication while focusing on what you do best.
Yeah, that's great. And what I like about it is she didn't strictly use the words and, but, therefore. But certainly, in the but section, she even says, but the problem is, she's spelling it out and she used that little trigger word in there because in that problem statement that really sets them up for then a very clear call to action, and that is build relationships with your customers through your content, essentially.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah. Do you want me to keep going? I have another.
Yeah, you got another one there. I love this.
I have a couple more. Parker Ross, he is the owner of Yerma Dog. And let me just tell you, his video needs to go viral because it was fantastic. Yerma Dog is a customized doghouse business, and he uses storytelling in every part of his business because Olga, his newly adopted dog, which he claims is an outside dog only with special needs, and she needed to feel comfortable with a shelter to call her own, and he wasn't able to find that in the community. So he talks about Olga, his newly adopted dog, how she's an outside dog with special needs. And but he wasn't able to find that home. So they created the custom dog homes. So Yerma Dog was born out of the need for something special for their own pup. And Parker tells the story at events, and he brings his dog Olga along with him now. And he's also experienced measured growth since Empower by learning how to effectively tell his story to build his brand, but also to connect with his community, because creating that foundation and connecting with your community and connecting with your target audience and and everyone that you are trying to, sell your product to is incredibly important. So he was struggling with finding that path until Empower. He thought, he honed in on Olga and really was able to showcase that story. And now it's part and parcel of everything that he does.
And what's the name of his company?
Yerma Dog.
Yerma,
yeah. Yerma Dog. Yes. He's located in San
Yerma
Diego.
Dog. So in San Diego. So if his ABT then to set that up would be something like Parker Ross got this rescue dog that was going to be an outside dog and it had special needs, but he couldn't find a service provider to help with those special needs. Therefore, to help dog and cat owners just like him, I would imagine, or any sort of animal owner, he created Yerma Dog.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. That's literally what it pretty much says on his website. So you must have worked with him very closely.
Well, once you get the ABT down, you start seeing it everywhere.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Literally. That's incredibly close to what he has.
Awesome. You got another one there?
I do. Laura Veldez, she's also in San Diego. She is a new entrepreneur. This is her first go. She's just about to launch her business. So she's one of those folks that we accepted into the program that weren't necessarily launched, but she had so much potential and so much grit that we said, we're going to take a chance on this idea. And she just absolutely excelled. So she owns Veldez Translation Services, which is an organization of one, but she offers exactly what it says, translation services for organizations, nonprofits. She also teaches language to folks. And her ABT is, you've been wanting to learn Spanish for the longest time, and you know that speaking another language is important for connecting to the world, but you feel overwhelmed because there's so much information out there and you have no one to practice it with. Therefore, you join my online Spanish group classes where you will get personalized support, accountability, and guidance to help you start learning and speaking Spanish with confidence.
Oh, that's great. I mean, it is so crystal clear what Laura does.
Yeah, she's amazing. She just recently reached out with our sales strategy, you know, learning how to do some outreach, some sales outreach and some cold outreach. I said, hey, you know, I could think of one organization just off the top of my head that could probably benefit from translation services. Has 3 letters, the one after A, BBB. Send us an email. Let's see you put your everything you learned into practice. And she did. And so we might be using her for our translation services.
Oh man, that's great. You've got another Empower cohort starting up. How many businesses do you have in that? And do you work with them at the same time, both in San Diego and Phoenix? Do they go through the same course at the same time?
Yeah, so that is an awesome question. And yes, so it is very, it can be challenging at times, especially with the time change. So I will say right now, we are actively recruiting for our upcoming cohort. It kicks off March 14th. So we're accepting applications right now. So I don't know how many I have in the cohort quite yet, but we usually average around 50 small businesses. So I'm expecting us to have about 50, sometimes more. Last cohort, I think we had 65. And it's about half and half from Southern California and Arizona. We do operate the same curriculum. We're all together as one big cohort. It can get a little tricky with in-person programming, but I have my colleagues in Phoenix are absolutely outstanding to help me run the in-person programming in Phoenix. And you've been there. You've presented
sure
live. So it is amazing. So we do run it at the same time. Most of the sessions are virtual, and then the in-person, we stream them live. So yeah, it's fantastic. It's 10 weeks, and we are actively accepting those applications right now.
And are there any other BBBs around the country doing a very similar program to yours? In case our listener here doesn't live in Arizona or the 3 counties of SoCal you mentioned?
Unfortunately, not yet, but that is on the horizon. So we are, I said a little bit earlier, we're the most innovative BBB in the system, but it's catching on. We have so many other BBBs reaching out to us saying, okay, we love what you're doing. You know, we're trailblazing in a way, just with these innovation programming and these resources that we're offering to the entrepreneurs and small business owners. So a lot of BBBs are catching on. I will say the Empower program with GoDaddy does have other partners in the country. So there are other Empower programs. They're not going to be set up like ours. Ours is a little bit different, but there are resources that other folks can definitely kind of just look into Empower by GoDaddy, and they can find out what other locations might be offering a similar program.
Yeah. Where do they find that? Where should we send them?
For our specific Empower, we want them to go to bbbempower.com. They can apply directly online. It only takes a few minutes, and they can also learn more about the program. If they were looking for other Empower programs in the country, I don't know the list of all the partners, but they can simply do a Google search for Empower by GoDaddy partners, and they might be able to find a list. I know there's one in Baltimore, and I believe there is one in Texas as well.
Cool. I'll look that up and have a link in the notes as well, hopefully to make it as easy as possible. And you're saying they've got until March 15th to apply?
March First, we're cutting off the applications because the cohort kicks off on March 14th. So we interview.
Oh, I get you.
Yeah, it's a 2-step process. It's an online application, and then we invite you in for a 15-minute phone interview. And like I said earlier, all accepted applicants are scholarshiped into the program.
Nice. And you've got a spring cohort and a fall cohort. So if they miss this first round, they can hit a second one potentially?
Absolutely. The fall cohort is going to kick off in the middle of September. So yeah, they can learn about what we do online, and they can apply now and be put on a wait list, and if they like to do that as well. So they can be one of the first folks we reach out to in September.
Well, that's great. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show today, Sam. I've seen the Empower program, of course, in action, and I've had a chance to work one-on-one with a lot of your members that went through it, not only working on their ABTs, but then, they'll reach out with a question here and there. And it has just blown me away, the impact you guys have had on Main Street and how you're helping individuals and couples and families really run powerful businesses, businesses that are sustainable, that they can make a good living from and are really servicing the community. And, that certainly comes down to first understanding, what do you stand for? Because if you don't stand for anything, you're not going to stand out. What are those core values? And then how are they expressed through your product or service offering, how you show up every day? And, of course, in the stories you tell. How do you bring that brand story to market so everybody gets what you do immediately, and then you can move on helping them get what they want out of life? So hats off to you and the team, both there in San Diego and Phoenix. You guys are doing an amazing job at the BBB.
Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure being able to share what we do with you, and just having you be a part of this program has been incredibly valuable to our entrepreneurs, our small businesses, and to us at the BBB. We absolutely love you. You're doing an amazing job, and you've made such an incredible impact on all of these entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for everything that you do.
Sam, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I want to thank all of you listeners for coming along for the ride today with Sam Scholl from the Better Business Bureau of the Pacific Southwest. And I'm telling you, if you want to take advantage of their Empowered by GoDaddy program, check it out. Go to bbbempower.com. Get registered now. Hopefully that you'll be accepted into that spring cohort. If not, then keep an eye out for that fall cohort as well. And if you enjoyed what you heard here today, feel free to share this show with anybody else out there that you know, small business, Main Street USA, that could benefit from a program like Empowered through the BBB. And of course, if I can help you, come on over to businessofstory.com, and you too can start crafting your own ABTs about your brand at businessofstory.com/ you guessed it, ABT. Check it out. Online course, 1 hour long, 3 20-minute modules by me. It's a lot of the same things that we're teaching at Empower. The beautiful thing about Empower, though, is you get to bring your work to the cohort. So you get to work it live with me, with your fellow colleagues there, and it is invaluable to help you really dial in your brand story. So check it out. And I hope you'll be back here again with me next week when we'll have another amazing story artist right here like Sam for you. And until then, remember that the most potent story you'll ever tell is the story you tell yourself. So make sure that's a great one. Thanks so much for listening.